Hello and welcome to the program, UFO Warning. In this episode, we're talking about UFO reports from Florida. That's correct, UFO reports from Florida. Found these over at NUFORC.org, NUFORC.org. My opinion, the best place on the planet to report these UFOs is really cool stuff. This first one says it happened on April 6, 2026, 12:03 a.m. local time. Now, they got the date reported as April 5th, 2026 at 9:18 p.m. And I'm a little bit concerned they might have got these reversed because there is a picture of this thing and it looks like there's light, so it would have had to have happened during the day. I don't think this picture would have been taken at night. I could be wrong, but it's weird. They're describing this thing as a saucer, but to me, this craft, I don't know, it looks more triangle shaped. It's got these four lights on, well, 4 on one side, 5 on the other. Just intensely bright lights that kind of obscure the view of this craft, whatever it is. I mean, it's something. I mean, it must have really been wild to see this thing. Says duration 30 seconds, observers for Deltona, Florida, near downtown Deltona, shaped disc, color black, viewed from land, direction from viewer east, angle of elevation 45 degrees, closest distance 50,000 feet. I don't know, 50,000 feet, I think they're misjudging this because if this thing was 50,000 feet, there's no way they could have cut this good a picture, I don't think, unless they had one heck of a zoom lens. Estimated speed 700 miles per hour. Lights on object or haze around object. Changed color, made a sound. Animals reacted. It was a black flying saucer with dim humming lights, and it was not too high off the ground. Well, they're saying dim lights, but what I'm seeing in this photo is not dim. It's quite bright. I was walking outside with my cousin and my parents while walking my dog. For about 20 seconds, we all saw the saucer flying past us. It was extremely fast, but fast enough to know it wasn't an aircraft. It had a humming noise and dim lights, and there was something spinning on the bottom. I couldn't really make out what it was. Then it made a sharp turn to the left, started heading west, and suddenly moved upward very quickly, like it was shooting into the sky. Yeah, I don't know, man. A lot left to explain on this one, but the picture's something, and they don't talk about taking the picture, but either way, I would love to see some follow-up on that one. This sighting dated March 15th, 2026, 6:25 a.m. Duration 5 seconds, observers 1. Location Jacksonville, Florida. Stopped at a traffic light on a highway on-ramp, about to take the San Pablo exit near Mayo Clinic Hospital. Shaped cube, color black, estimated size 250 to 300 feet. Imagine that. A black cube 250 to 300 feet across. Viewed from land, direction from viewer in front and above, angle of elevation 90 degrees, closest distance 240 to 360 feet high. Just a little above your head. Wow. Estimated speed 0, hovering or floating. Now, I just can't imagine sitting there at a stoplight, looking up and seeing this black cube, 300 foot across. It's the size of a football field, just about 360 feet overhead, tops. I mean, it had to almost black out the sun. A huge black square hovered over the highway, almost invisible. Okay. I was stopped at a traffic light at about 6:20 a.m. The sky was completely dark and cloudless with a few small stars visible. When the light turned green, I happened to be looking upward and noticed a square shape in the sky. As I began to accelerate to enter the highway, I noticed another smaller square parallel to the first. Then I was able to take in the enormous size of a massive square object, approximately 250 to 350 feet wide, and about 360 feet up in the sky. It appeared that the two smaller squares were either designs or objects on the flat surface of the larger square. There were no clouds, but the entire object blended into the dark early morning sky almost perfectly. There were no lights at all, and it was completely silent. I had a strong feeling that the object was camouflaged and watching the traffic below. Looking back now, I realize I forgot about the sighting and went about my day as usual without thinking about it at all. Even though I now remember feeling extremely disturbed at the time, I did not recall the sighting again until mid-afternoon the next day. There was no missing time, but I seemed to completely forget the event for about 32 hours. Well, this is a phenomenon that we have heard of before. It does happen. It's almost like these things are exerting some sort of mind control. I mean, wow. And yeah, I wonder if this thing is trying to camouflage or if it's actually one of these interdimensional crafts, and maybe we're just seeing some sort of residual effect of this thing coming in and out of our reality. I really have to wonder about that. Great sighting, though. The sightings on March 13th, 2026, 10:58 a.m. local time. I believe that was a Friday the 13th, if I recall correctly. Duration 8 to 12 seconds. Observers 1 military. Location High Springs, Florida. I was walking west on the street near the reported location. They give the shape as a cigar. Say it was bright white. Estimated size 60 feet. Viewed from land. Northwest initially, but was heading due north. Angle of elevation 15 degrees. Closest distance 600 feet. Estimated speed approximately 5 miles per hour. Comparable to watching someone walking on the street. It might even be a little bit less than 5 miles an hour. Characteristics: aura or haze around object. I was out taking a walk around the neighborhood and saw a craft heading south. It was a clear day with no clouds, and the moon was visible in the sky. I suddenly got a strange feeling and noticed a craft above me slightly to the north, about 15 degrees from directly overhead. From my perspective, it appeared to be about 2 to 3 inches in size. Its movement resembled watching someone walking about 5 miles per hour. There was no glare, but it was the whitest white I have ever seen. I observed it moving with a strange floating motion, and then it began to ascend, appearing to shrink to about an inch or an inch and a half from my viewpoint. I watched it for approximately 8 to 11 seconds before reaching for my phone to zoom in and take a picture. I briefly saw it on my phone screen while attempting to zoom in. In hindsight, I should have just taken a quick photo. However, as I tried to capture the image, it disappeared. At the speed and altitude it was traveling, there is no way it should have left my field of view so quickly. It's difficult to judge its size accurately, but I estimate it was at a typical cruising altitude for an aircraft. It then completely vanished. I continued my walk and soon noticed a jet flying south at a high speed, followed by another jet heading north at a similar altitude. This may not be unusual, but both were in the same general area as the sighting. The object was very clear to me. It may have had a slightly circular form with angled edges, but overall it appeared cigar-shaped. I would estimate it to be about twice the size of a private aircraft, though that is just a guess. At one point, it appeared light gray on top with a curved shape, possibly surrounded by some kind of haze. There was no sound whatsoever during the sighting. A few minutes later, I heard jet engines, but could not see anything in the sky. About 8 minutes later, I observed a jet flying south at a similar altitude, and roughly 6 minutes after that, another jet flying north. Well, not uncommon for these things to be in heavily traveled areas. That's another thing that's really, I guess, almost concerning about these sightings, is how oftentimes they seem to appear right in the middle of heavy air traffic. This one's a sphere sighting, March 9th, 2026, 11:41 a.m., duration 4 to 5 seconds, observers 1, Vero Beach, Florida. Location details: elevated tee box on hole 11 at Bent Pine Golf Course. Shaped sphere, color black, size approximately the size of a 3 to 4 gallon backpack, viewed from land, direction from viewer, overhead toward the southwest, angle of elevation 90 degrees, closest distance 200 feet, estimated speed 120 to 140 mile per hour. A sphere passed over my head with no propellers or visible signs of propulsion. I was standing on the course with unlimited visibility and completely calm air. A sphere approximately the size of a 3 or 4 gallon backpack passed overhead with only a whooshing sound. It was heading southwest, approximately 150 to 200 feet above me, with an estimated speed of 120 to 140 mile per hour. I ducked at the sound and then looked up. The object maintained a steady altitude the entire time and did not change direction. I was able to track it visually as it passed over a 300-yard lake. There were no propellers, no jet noise, no electrical sounds, and no visible trail. Doesn't seem like it meets the definition of any kind of known aircraft, just one of these very strange spheres that we've seen. And I'm going back and thinking about that Mosul orb again. Whatever they are, they're just almost like they're a UFO class all to themselves. Very, very weird. This sighting happened on February 8th, 2026 at 12:15 p.m. Duration approximately 6 minutes. Lost from view while driving, it says. Observers 1. Location, Port Charlotte, Florida. I checked my map application on my phone and determined the cluster was over water south of Florida. Shape changing, color silver, estimated size comparable to a cruise ship. That's big. Viewed from land. Direction from viewer southwest. Angle of elevation 37 degrees. Closest distance over 100 miles. Speed unknown. Appeared anti-gravity and too fast to comprehend. A cluster of UFOs appeared dangerously close to each other, repeatedly forming a straight line and then breaking back into a tight cluster, fading in and out of view. While leaving my home, I observed a cluster of approximately 15 to 20 UFOs. They would fade in and out of visibility while hovering in one area of the sky without changing position. Their formation changed frequently. At times, they hovered closely together, then aligned into a straight line, appearing almost as if they were touching each other. Then they would suddenly spread apart again. This pattern repeated multiple times. They did not appear to be engaging in any kind of conflict. Their movement lacked the speed of typical aircraft, yet they did not behave like planes, helicopters, or drones. They had no wings, no trails, and no visible propulsion. In the sunlight, they appeared cross-shaped, although this may have been caused by glare. They were at very high altitude. I have never seen anything like it before. Their movement and behavior was unlike anything I have ever seen created by humans. I was extremely far away from the objects, but I happened to observe them while driving. You know, it's almost like they're playing sometimes. We get these reports of these orbs or UFOs or balls of light or whatever, and they're just doing all kinds of spectacular maneuvers, stuff that there's no way anything man-made can do. And oftentimes there'll be groups or clusters of them, and it just seems as if they're like a bunch of puppies or kittens playing, racing back and forth. Sometimes almost like a flock of birds. There could be a dozen of them, but they never collide. It's just, there's some kind of innate intelligence behavior going on here, almost like flocking behavior. If you see a flock of starlings, how they can all be flying in the same direction, thousands of them, just wingtip to wingtip, going this way and that way, but somehow never colliding. You see that same kind of behavior in these UFOs. There's really something strange going on here. This is a sighting from an airplane. These are some of my favorite because you get a really unique perspective when you're up in the air and you see one of these things. Not to mention that it has to be a rush. This date on this is February 1st, 2026, 10:30 p.m. It says duration 5 minutes, observers 2. Location, Kissimmee, Florida. details west of Lake Gentry and SR-91. They do have a flight radar map here with this thing. It's pretty wild. Shape light, color white, estimated size approximately 3 times the size of a small plane, viewed from aircraft, direction from viewer west, angle of elevation 45 degrees, closest distance unknown, estimated speed stationary, characteristics lights on object or haze around object change color, description, sighting from an airplane, flight 990 from LGA to MCO was descending to land when the pilot suddenly accelerated and veered to the right away from the airport. Oh boy. The aircraft traveled south of MCO towards St. Cloud. I was seated by the window and looked outside where I saw 2 bright stationary lights. They appeared to be beaming and were defying normal flight patterns, moving around each other. I recorded them and observed the flight for over 3 minutes before our landing approach was redirected. The pilot announced that we had changed course due to winds, but I did not notice any change in wind conditions or turbulence. At one point, another plane flew directly near the lights, which confirmed to me that I was not mistaken in judging their abnormal behavior. I have been observing aerial phenomena for nearly 20 years, and I had a distinct feeling something was in the sky before I even saw it. Wow. Well, a lot of people get these premonitions. It's almost as if sometimes they're telegraphing to us, I think maybe subconsciously or telepathically, somehow they're communicating that they're out there, or maybe it's just our spidey senses picking up on these things. Some of us, I think, have better situational awareness than other people do. Strange stuff. This sighting is dated October 15th, 2025, 6 p.m. local time. Duration 3 minutes. Observers 1 military. Newport Richey, Florida. I was waiting at a traffic light heading north, intending to turn east on SR-52 toward my home. Says shape sphere, color silver, estimated size comparable to a full-size Star Trek spaceship, viewed from land, direction from viewer west, angle of elevation 90 degrees, closest distance 10 foot. Estimated speed instantaneous, appeared to teleport from approximately 2 miles away. Characteristics possible abduction. That always gets my attention. While pulling up to a traffic light, I saw what I initially thought was a commercial jet hovering about 2 miles north of me. It was getting dark around 6 p.m. when the hovering object suddenly appeared directly above my car, as if it had teleported there. Just driving along, boom, look up, see this thing. It hovered approximately 10 feet above my vehicle. Through my closed driver's side window, I could see that it was very large, comparable in size to a Star Trek spaceship. I could also see what appeared to be a window or opening about 5 feet high that circled the entire craft, with what looked like a hallway running along the interior of the sphere. The object made no sound at all. I looked around at a few people standing on nearby sidewalks to see if they were reacting or staring at the object, but it appeared they could not see it. I was afraid to open my car window as I was concerned I might be abducted. I wanted to get home as quickly as possible and avoid any kind of encounter. I turned right at the red light and headed home quickly, without looking back to see if the object followed me. It did not. At the time, I was not overly tired, and I do not drink alcohol or smoke. I was on my way home from my dental office, as I am a general dentist. Wow. Well, the guy's a dentist, so, I mean, he's a doctor, right? So it doesn't seem like the kind of person that would just randomly report a wild sighting like this if it wasn't true. I mean, that is really something. And here again, it's one of these situations where it seems like one person sees them and the other people around may or may not view them. Really, really crazy stuff. We'll do 3 more here and wrap this up. This sighting is dated July 30th, 2025, 2:11 a.m. Duration seconds. Number of observers 1. Williston, Florida. Details. I was walking out the back porch door to the backyard where I usually sit to smoke. A lot of people sitting outside smoking, seeing these things. Shape orb. Color white, white, blue. Size 3 to 4 inches in diameter, viewed from land. Direction from viewer. Moving from left to right. West from my backyard. Angle of elevation 50 degrees. Closest distance midway across the western portion of my backyard. Speed extremely fast, too fast to track. A large bright orb appeared. At first I thought it was a shooting star, but it moved horizontally, not vertically, and at an incredible speed, unlike anything I have ever seen. I walked outside to smoke. I often notice oddities in the sky, but this is the first time I have ever reported something as it shook me to my core. I consider myself fearless and I enjoy scary things, but this left me very unsettled. I noticed something out of the corner of my eye that drew me to look up. The object, a ball or orb, was about 3 to 4 inches in diameter from my perspective. From the horizon to the object, it appeared roughly 50% higher than my line of sight. The orb was bright and clearly spherical, not like a star, and moved horizontally across the sky. Its motion was astonishing. It moved so quickly that it traveled halfway across my field of vision almost instantaneously. Then, unlike anything I have ever seen, it stopped dead in place, completely, without any deceleration. It hovered in that spot for about 15 to 20 seconds. Suddenly, it vanished as if someone had flipped a light switch. I was stunned. I wasn't actively observing the sky. I simply stepped outside. Within a second, the orb moved across my view, stopped immediately, hovered, then disappeared. My husband came out and saw me standing there, staring up at the sky. I felt compelled to report this sighting. I have no other information, but I'm available to be contacted if needed. Thank you for your time. Well, thank you for reporting that. That's awesome. We hear so many of these stories, people just going about their business and having a normal day, and suddenly one of these UFOs shows up and their whole perspective on life changes. Like this gal said, shaken to my core. This sighting is dated July 1st, 2025 at 9:05 p.m. Duration 2 minutes or less. Number of observers 2. Location Ocala, Florida. Details: address approximate. I was driving. Shaped triangle. Color dark steel gray, black. Estimated size smaller than an airplane but larger than a pickup truck. Viewed from land. Direction from viewer to my right. Angle of elevation 45 degrees. Closest distance approximately 1 city block. Speed 5 miles per hour or less. Characteristic: lights on object. I saw a silent, low-flying, triangular craft with bright circular lights hovering above trees before vanishing. I was driving and noticed lights ahead. At first I thought it was an airplane, but it was moving very slowly, flying low and emitted a lot of light. As I got closer, I noticed a triangular shape at the rear. The lights beneath it were circular, like recessed ceiling lights. There were 6 or 8 lights in total, 3 or 4 on each side, all white. I slowed my vehicle to about 5 miles per hour so I wouldn't pass it. As I approached, I noticed the nose was flat with a cutout at the front. It looked like something from a futuristic or alien-themed movie. I was captivated by the unique shape and lights underneath. There was no noise that you would expect from an aircraft. If it weren't for the lights, I would have passed right by it at 5 to 10 miles per hour. The craft hovered over houses and empty lots with trees just above the tree line. As I passed alongside it, it became partially obscured by the trees. When I looked again, it had vanished. My 10-year-old nephew, seated in the front passenger seat, confirmed that he saw it as well. After we lost sight of it, he exclaimed, "It disappeared." I'm confident in what I saw. Nothing I found online or from personal experience resembles it. I researched military aircraft but could not find anything similar, especially regarding the front lights. I was so captivated by the front of the aircraft and the lights underneath it that I could not focus on the rear. Upon returning home, I drew it and later used a paint application and AI to reproduce the details as accurately as possible. Now, they did do an investigation on this. It says, Witness J, incident time July 1st, 2025, 9:05 p.m., duration 5 to 10 seconds, phone interview July 17th, 2025 at 9 a.m. On July 17th, 2025 at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I contacted Jay by phone to interview her about the triangle sighting on July 1st, 2025 at 9:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Jay stated she was driving on Southwest 60th Avenue near PRP Aviation LLC in Ocala, Florida. It was dark as there were few lights on this rural road. Her 10-year-old nephew was in the front passenger seat and her two nieces were in the back. Jay noticed several bright lights ahead and initially thought it was an airplane. As she got closer, she realized it was triangular in shape and either hovering above the tree line or moving very slowly. She noted 6 bright lights, 3 on each side, resembling recessed ceiling lights. Jay slowed her vehicle to approximately 5 miles per hour to observe the craft more closely. Even at that speed, she could not determine if it was hovering or moving slowly. She described feeling both excited and shocked, repeatedly asking her nephew if he saw it, which he confirmed. She had to lean down in her seat to view the craft as they passed. No other vehicles were present on the road. The sighting only lasted 5 to 10 seconds, so Jay had limited time to observe. She remembered the 6 lights and a possible mist surrounding the craft, potentially from overcast weather. The craft was dark steel gray with hints of purple and completely silent, causing no air disturbance. As close as she estimated the craft was less than a block away. The front of the craft was rounded, not pointed, with a hole you could see through. Her AI-generated illustration better represents the front. The front of the craft was rounded, not pointed, with a hole you could see through. Her AI-generated illustration better represents the front. The craft was roughly the size of a 2-person airplane and hovered just above the tree line, approximately the height of a 2-story house. After passing, her nephew saw the craft briefly before it disappeared, likely turning off its lights. I noted that if the lights were off, she would not have been able to see it. Conclusion. Jay stated that if she had observed the craft alone, she might have thought it was an hallucination or a misidentified aircraft. She repeatedly asked her nephew to confirm the sighting. Having grown up near an airport, she is certain she would have heard any conventional aircraft noise. Flight Radar 24 showed no aircraft in the area. Jay only submitted the report to NUFORC. Investigator Keith Bickford, NUFORC. Yeah, that's great. What a great investigation there. I mean, these guys just do such an awesome job. See, the thing is, they post this stuff publicly online where we can all access it. It's not like with some of these UFO reporting sites where everything's proprietary and you can't get access to it. NUFORC truly crowdsources this stuff. This is how you get disclosure. We'll do one last one here. This sighting is dated May 17th, 2025 at 10:30 p.m. Duration 1 minute or less. Observers 1. Location Oak Hill, Florida. Details outside on farm property. Shaped triangle, color black, translucent. Viewed from land. Direction from viewer west. Angle of elevation 70 degrees. Characteristics lights on object aircraft nearby. A huge triangular craft with escorts flew silently over my property before disappearing. I was outside latching a gate after checking on my flock when I heard a strange tone or pitch ring twice in my ear. I froze, unsure what it was. My ears and my head began buzzing like static. I turned around and looked up. Not far in front of me, high in the air, I saw 3 orange lights moving from the north. My knees immediately locked, my heart rate skyrocketed, and my throat tightened, making it difficult to breathe. It felt like a forced physiological response, not typical anxiety. The buzzing in my head intensified and became strong pressure, eventually painful. I quickly realized the 3 lights were part of a slightly rotating, completely silent black triangle. I could see the stars through it, yet the outline of the triangle was unmistakable. It was absolutely massive. Following the triangle were 3 to 4 greenish lights, one of which lagged behind but then accelerated rapidly to catch up, stopping just shy of the triangle's edge before matching its speed again. The triangle itself moved slowly. Satellites moved faster than it did. I watched the craft for about a minute. Then the leading orange light on the triangle shut off or faded out, followed by 2 rear lights in sequence. After that, I could no longer see the craft. The escort lights or craft formed a new formation and continued south. The rest of the night, I experienced a headache and nausea and had to sit and cry. This reaction is very out of character for me. I felt extremely strange and uncomfortable. The next day, I appeared to have returned to normal. I don't know. I don't know if these things are putting on some kind of energy or just what is going on there, but this is a reaction that some people do have. They almost seem a little bit traumatized by these encounters or observations. Anyway, lots of great sightings and stories and encounters with these UFOs down there in the Florida Sunshine State. Hope you like the program. As always, thanks to the people that support the program. Until next time, this is UFO Warning, over and out.